But don't you find it funny that how in this moment what you remembered is an easy name?
Yeah, because yeah.
So, I found this interesting. I don't really know how to phrase this big question, but over the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing a couple of articles about parents and names of that they're giving their children, right? There are a lot of parents that, let's say, they like to give their a child a certain name, but all their friends are like, no, don't give him that name. It's a stupid name. Or even the midwives are like, I wouldn't give the child that name. And then you have like kindergarten people weighing in like, you know what? That's not a great name for a child because it's going to create issues. It's hard to pronounce. It's going to alienate them. They're going to be bullied, etc., etc., etc. Which got me thinking, how much is it the responsibility of a parent to ensure a good name for their child? And before before I give you any information to bias your thoughts, I want you to answer that. How much is it the responsibility of a parent to ensure the name of their child is a good name for them? Do you understand the question? Do you understand what I mean?
I think it's 100% the responsibility of the parent. The child isn't naming themselves. It's the first thing. It's one of the first things your parents give you. So yes, as a parent, I would hope your intentions are to give your child a good name. That will cause them the least hassle, because that's. Unless you're going to leave your child nameless until they're able to name themselves, whose responsibility is it to give the child a good name?
No. So it's not about leaving them nameless, but it's about like giving them let's say a long name, like Elon Musk and his child's name, which is like numbers and dots and exclamation points and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's weird. But then obviously with like, let's say, ordinary people, they may have like really long names. I think the example they gave was like Chris the Mine or something like that. Chris the Manine Fade. You know, like a name that a parent likes. Like, oh my God, I really like this name. And then they give their child that, but it's long, it's complicated, it's hard to say, it's foreign.
But I do think you have to think long term for your children, the same way that you think long term for your children on a lot of things. I'm sending them to school for their future. I'm doing this for their future. The name that you give them also has to. I don't think it necessarily has to mean something to you or represent something, but has to give the kid the least problems as possible. Because why as a parent are you giving your child a name that foresees them problems already?
Because it's your grandmother's name and you're from Nigeria.
Cultural names I don't have a problem with. I think my issue at the minute is made up names, and obviously I'm guessing names.
Cultural name.
I'm guessing
as far as the preschool teacher is concerned, that cultural name is a made up name.
So are they saying even like cultural names are not okay?
It's not about okay or not okay. Their point is, yes, even cultural names, complicated, hard names will cause a child some difficulty in life, which includes cultural names.
I think a parent has to be sensible in it, because if you're giving a child a cultural name that is difficult to pronounce, but it holds some significance for you and your family, an actual significance, as biased as that might sound on my part, then go with it as long as you can. I think as well at the same time, as long as you as a parent, as your child grows up, can justify to them why they've got that name and empower them with that name, by all means call them what you like. But I think there are certain names just...
Personally, I think it's sad that we have to... I feel like we're talking about the wrong thing. You know, why I think we should be discussing teaching everybody to accept everybody. You know, why should someone have to be bullied because their name is long, or because their name is different, or because their name is African?
Because it's just the wiring of humans. It's not something you teach. It's not something you learn. It's just the wiring of human.
Then we need to unwire that in humans.
How are you gonna go about doing that?
It's like saying we need to remove sin from the world.
Yeah, and it's possible. Christ paid it all.
Yeah, but at the minute we still live in a sinful world until he comes again.
It's gonna go.
Yeah, but
look forward to that day.
We're not talking about gonna. We're talking about today.
Right now,
look
it's
forward
not
to that day.
Yeah, we look forward to that day. That's why we're on this earth. We look forward to the coming of Christ.
I am in full support of.
In the meantime,
parents naming their children the names that they want to name them. To be honest with you, I think it's the first gift that a parent gives to their child. And in most cases, if you're not a crack addict or an alcohol and a drunkard, in most cases, these names can be because the mother loves the name so much, you know. So it's a gift they're giving to the child. I love this name so much. I want my child to be known these names.
Or isn't it, I love this name so much, so I'm going to give it to the child.
Yes.
It's a selfish need.
Yeah.
I like it, therefore I'll give it.
Yes. That's what parenting is. Parenting is about, this is what I'm going to give my child. This is the best for my child.
No.
It starts with the name.
No. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying you're looking at it from, I like this name. I'm going to gift it to my child because I like it so much.
Yes.
But I'm saying 9 times out of 10, it's usually, I like this name. Therefore, because I like it, the child is going to have it.
Yeah. Because
it's
what we're saying, the child
it's coming
can't...
from a selfish... It's coming from a
you
selfish...
You can interpret it like that if you want. I would say no. It's coming from... You share what you love, yeah? You give the things to people that you love, that you like, you know? In a general sense of things.
Well, no, technically, you should give to people what they like.
In a general sense of things. Okay, if someone has invited you to their place for dinner, you know, let's say you met someone at Tesco, you know, you had a good conversation, they've said come for dinner, you may not know what they like to drink and stuff like that. So you take what you like to drink, the best of what you like to drink, and take it there. Unless if you've done the whole, what do you like, what should I bring kind of thing. But again, in a general sense of things, you know, you give people the best that you have to offer. That's what life is about.
Okay, carry on.
The parent, you know, is saying that I really like this name, you know, and they want to give that name to their child. I see nothing wrong with that, to be honest with you. Similarly, we talk about traditional names. You know, now some generations have been in this country for the longest time. Some parents want to keep some form of tradition. They want their children never to forget where they come from. You know, a culture thing. This is your inheritance. It's an ancestral thing, a descendant thing. Yeah. So they will give them those names to say that this is you. This is who you are. This is your name. You know, I think there's nothing wrong with that.
All right. So let me go through some it's interesting ways that people have found a way in which a name affects your life as you go through life. And an area like this, because it's not on a conscious level. It's just on a subconscious level, like how things happen because of the type of name
racism.
You have. So I'll read a few and then you can come in to see whether any of you are changing your minds about anything, right? So it says that if your name is easy to pronounce, people will favor you more. All right? And the logic is that we can process a piece of information more easily when it's easier to comprehend. That's the sense of it, right? If your name is common, you're more likely to be hired. And again, it's just the whole processing easier things. The brain always goes for simple things where possible, right? Uncommon names are associated with juvenile delinquency.
Okay.
So that's like young people committing crime. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah. And the research says that it's not to say that researchers found that regardless of race, young people with unpopular names were more likely to engage in criminal activity.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, and there's a whole other host of things as well. But I guess my question is, so knowing that a name of a child has such an impact as they go through their lives, as a parent, will you not then take the steps to name your child the best name possible in order to set them up for the best success in life?
My view hasn't changed. My view hasn't changed even after reading those. Maybe if we read a few more, I would change. But the reason why my view hasn't changed so far is because most of them, I would call, I mean, I know you said scientifically proven. I don't know if it was studies or whatever, but I think they are superstitions. I will bring up my child, you know, the best way possible, you know, prep them for life, strengthen them, discipline them, educate them, give them everything that they need to know and survive in the world that they're going into, you know? And if in the moment that I'm naming them, the inspiration from divinity tells me to name them Christoph,
But Christopher is not a tough name.
Oh,
but carry
okay,
on.
fine. Abdabda, Abdullah, whatever it
And
is.
that's not a tough name either. That's just your racism coming out.
I am a
carry-
racist person.
No,
whatever
but
name it is. Yeah.
It kind of shows you how I guess uncommon names are, because you pick them up when you come across them.
Fair
Because things like Abdullah, Christoph, those are not
fair
unusual
enough.
names.
But yeah, but if my child, for whatever reason, surrounding the circumstances, my twins actually, I'm on the path to having twins. Discussion for another day. But if my children end up having an uncommon names for whatever reason, all that needs to be done with that knowledge is to also use that to prep them. To
Prep them how though?
to explain how that can how that can present certain problems if they don't do certain things in a certain way.
But
you know,
they won't be able to do anything.
Won't you
about
just
it.
give them confirmation bias as well?
Yeah, and they won't be able to do anything.
no,
about it.
I don't believe so. Yes, they won't be able to do anything because your actions are your actions. But if
what
they are
about the
prepped for it,
what about the
they'll
confirmation
be
bias?
okay.
So give me an example of it. So for example, people with Asian names are more likely to get hired. How are you prepping your child with a 26-letter name?
Okay.
So I'll tell you now, when you go into an interview, for example, make a point to discuss your name.
Okay.
Leave because what we're talking about, you're talking about on the subconscious level, because you said that we're not even putting a malice there.
Yeah. No,
so
I'm not saying
leave
this
an
is people
impression.
being evil.
Leave an impression. Yeah, we're not talking about people being evil. So leave an impression. So talk about your name. Stand out. Make sure they remember you, because it's not that they hate you or dislike you or racism, whatever. Something like that. So leave an impression in the interview room, because and in fact,
Pull your pants down.
in fact, interviews tend to be the ones that are the biggest deciders. After that, they're now trying to remember who left the biggest impact. I've actually come across names. It's unfortunate I can't remember any of them right now. The only one I'm remembering is Alexa. I came across an Alexa once. And then I saw her again a second time. So I was like, you must get the Alexa jokes quite a lot. She was not impressed with that.
But don't you find it funny that how in this moment what you've remembered is an easy name?
Yeah, because, yeah. I mean, I find it interesting because I guess my brain just has those.
No.
easy,
And you can't remember a
names.
difficult name because that's what you're trying to remember right now.
This
but
is
you
the
can't
point.
remember one.
This
Yeah,
the point
but my
that-
point is that I haven't met enough of those difficult names to remember.
But you've met some.
I would say I've met some, yeah. I would definitely, like, especially when delivering to like those are not even difficult names, they're just different names, like Polish names and stuff like that, that's where Christoph was coming from, actually, because there is Christoph that's written with no vowels. Yeah, that's written with no vowels and things like that. So I do notice these things. But what the point I'm trying to make is that I've actually come across certain different names where the impression that I've been left with is, oh my days, that is a really, really good name. That's a really, really different name.
But not
you can't
memorable
remember
enough to
them.
remember.
It stands out. Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't come into contact with it that many times to remember. You got to remember that the names we're talking about,
But you
Jack,
met
Jill, James,
met
John,
Alexa once
we
and
meet
you
these
remembered
all the
them.
time.
Yeah, and that's the argument.
All
Do
the
you
time.
say that because they're common, because we meet them all the time, that easier to recall?
Yeah, but I would not argue that's a good enough
hang
reason
on.
to name my child John because I meet Johns.
so the
In
point
fact,
is-
hold on. In fact, that's a reason not to name my child John.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
But then
fine,
what you
that's
have to
not the
understand is that
conversation.
your child will already be at a disadvantage. That's the point.
And I will make sure that my child knows that disadvantage
what you're
and
saying-
they're prepped for
so
it.
what you're saying
Hold
is-
on, my child is not going to miss out on the things that they want to do in life because of a name.
How do you know?
Because I'm going to prep them.
No, but okay, so what you're saying is your child already will have 101 things that they have to deal with, right?
Wait, hold on. What do you mean?
No, I'm just saying in their lifetime, they'll have a lot of things that they'll have to deal with in the same way that we've had things to deal with, right? So the question is coming from the root or the stem that if you as a parent, you can take one thing off their plate, is it not a good thing to do so? So if you as a parent, because you're saying, I'm going to prep them when you go an interview, make sure you make a point. But they're already worried about the qualifications or the interview questions or
okay,
whatever.
fine. I guess let me add this.
Let me finish.
Go on.
So now there's another thing on top of that they have to be worried about throughout the whole life. So the question is, if you as a parent, you can take one thing off the plate of your child, is it not a good thing to do so?
So I guess maybe let me explain this. One of my worst fears in life is that moment when I have to name my child. Yeah, because I understand the importance of a name. Yeah, I understand that, in my opinion, when done right, there's divinity intervention into it, and this is going into the Bible. Yeah, names were not we were not picking names because they're popular. We don't pick names because they're gonna sound good in an interview. You know, in my opinion, that's a foolish reason to pick a name. We don't pick names because these are common, these are easy to pronounce. You don't give names for those reasons. I understand that there's a reason as to why these names are given. Now, I'll give my Christian name, for example, right? I don't know who gave me that name or where it came from, you know? But sometimes when I examine my character, I do actually see a lot of that name in me, you know, by nature. Right now, I don't know who gave me. I think it was my mother. I'm not sure. Yeah. So for me, naming a child is not a sport where you go on Google and search names that sound nice. Naming a child is not a sport where you look for the best sound in life so that they can have the easiest when they go interviews. I feel like there's an art that goes into naming a child that actually scares me for when I come to name my child.
Why?
Yeah, because I see the gravity of the responsibility.
Do you feel like you're giving your child the wrong name?
No.
So then why does it scare you?
Well, because what if the divine intervention says, like what she was saying, troublemaker, or,
then it's divine
or
what can
drug
you do
dealer,
about
what can
you do about it?
I'm gonna cry about it. You know,
That's
like
fine.
imagine if Jacob and Esau, if Job had been which one? Who? Abraham. Imagine if Abraham knew the destination of
You
Esau.
have to put that next to bomb the school.
Imagine if Abraham knew the destination of is it even Abraham? Isaac. Imagine if Isaac knew the destination of Esau. You know, like.
For sure. Okay.
So hold on. Let me just complete my point.
Yeah.
So my point is that if these parents are doing this right, I'm encouraging them that don't be scared of the society. Don't let that impact you. Give your children the names that you believe they're supposed to have, or the names that you want they're supposed to have. But the knowledge of the fact that it might cause a problem now empowers you to do something about it in preparing them as they grow up.
I've got two things to say. So the first thing, for example, so let's say you give the child a weirder sounding name, right? They go to nursery, and at nursery they're being excluded. Maybe the children are not playing with them because they can't call them or whatnot, and that's what's happening. We're talking about, how old are you at nursery? 2, 3,
3, 4, 5.
What are you telling your child at that point to address that issue?
If my child is being excluded at 2 years old at nursery, when it's the most innocent phase of life, where you don't even know each other's names, you're just following around.
This is the point.
There's a problem.
No.
There.
But this,
now
this
here's my solution.
Hang on.
Here's my solution. A name is an identity. It's more than what you're being called at that particular time. So my solution is we can have a shortened version of that name. Because it's not just about people calling you. It's an identity. It's something that belongs to you. Yeah? It's something that is yours. So my point
it's
being,
not an identity if people use it.
My point is, yeah, you don't have to call me by my name every single day in order for me to know that it's in order for me to enjoy and know that name. Yeah, I could
know the name.
So what am I going to call you?
I'm finding it difficult to phrase it, but like I said, you know, I'm known as Pronic everywhere. Pronic everywhere. Yeah, but if you ask,
but that's your alias. That's not your name.
Yeah, but okay. No, even at work, even my day job.
Yeah,
no, it's Nick.
My point is that's your alias.
No, even
that one may be because you can say no, it's your middle name, but even then it's an alias, because when you hear that, you're hearing an alias. You're not hearing your name.
No, forget Pro Nick. Let's stick with Nick.
Okay,
that's my name. That's my middle name. That's the name I'm known by. When I leave the family settings, that's the name that everybody calls me by.
It's the name you've chosen to be known by when you leave the family.
Everybody calls me
by.
So
what's the difference? Doesn't make a difference.
The difference is your name. Middle names are there. I feel like middle names are banter, in my opinion.
What do you mean middle names?
Because why are they there? You've
always been salty that you haven't got a middle name.
Still, why
that's
are
a
they
discussion
there?
for another day.
Why are they there? Because
point,
really and truly, you are called by your first name, and that's what you're usually known by. You have to. Often that's what people have the conversation. Oh, do you have a middle name? What's your middle name? Because it's not common knowledge most of the time. So that's what I'm saying. You've chosen to be known by your middle name.
I have chosen to be known by the middle name, and part of the reasons why is because I don't like how my first name is butchered. right?
How do they even put your name? It's easy.
My friend. Anyway, story for another day. But I will tell you one thing. Yeah, the pride that I hold in my full name, it's like unlike no other.
I'm not talking about. Okay,
so
that's
what I'm
not
so,
addressing. Could you talk about your name?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say, what I'm
about
trying to say is that you have to realize. Yeah. You have no. Obviously, we were once offsprings, so we are the best examples we can give. Because we didn't choose our names either. We were given our names. And all of us here have got African names. That we then brought into the Western world. So we've had to deal with some level of what we're discussing here actually. So I feel like we are very good guinea pigs. Yeah. So I'm saying that for me, it's never held me back. You know? And for me, that's what I'm saying that if anything, I do agree on the pronunciation. I do agree on the playground. You know? I do agree in friend settings. You know, I agree with everything that you're saying that you might hold that. I do agree, you know, to an extent to even agree in a workplace, you know. So, but what I'm trying to say is that it's
so where do you disagree?
I disagree on the beginning of naming a child completely different because of those reasons. I think just like I've come up with just like I've had a solution that, okay, you know what, call me this. You know, but for those that even at workplace, for those that know me properly, that's the name that they use because it is actually on the system. But I tell them that just call me Nick, call me Nick, you know. But I will tell you one thing, that the ones that do call me by my full name, sometimes it's like tears of joy. You know, it's like I welcome that name. You know, I'm not ashamed of it. I don't dislike it or whatever. I love that. I welcome that. And if you can pronounce it properly, call me that all day long. Amen. You know, so my point is very simple. That in my opinion, I disagree with parents going for the easy names and so on because of that. I don't think so. I think name your child the name that you want properly. But then if you have this knowledge, you can put things in measure that can make sure that they don't get excluded in the playground at nursery school. They don't get excluded in the playground at primary school, whatever, until they are of age enough to be able to stand and say, actually, no, call me by my actual name, which is this. You know, and for me, that's how everybody ought to be brought up. You know, that's why let's enjoy our differentiations in this diverse society. It's fine.
No, so the issue wasn't saying that everyone should be called Jack, John, or Mary, but the issue was talking about the difficulty of the word. Because I like the fact that you mentioned about the Bible thing and the inspiration, but you have to understand those names were still part of the language. So that was like being inspired to call your child Mary. Or being inspired to call you. So it wasn't them just being inspired to call a random name or a made up word. You know, there was some of them were actually full on sentences. You know, maybe not sentences, but it could be like phrases. 2 words for us, but something. But you know, all those. So they were still part of the vernacular. They were still part of the language. There were still common names. Is the point I'm trying to say?
This is really
so. They I guess the next point I was going to make. Which obviously from what you're saying, you're saying you're disagreeing with. You think a parent should name their child whatever they feel like it or whatever they're inspired to name their child. They should no issue.
Yeah,
fine. And that's fine. I don't disagree with that. But I think for parents, especially who've come from like foreign countries, like let's say Asia or the Eastern countries, the African countries or whatever, if that name is very easy in your vernacular language, right? It's a common name, it's easy or whatever, but you know that name is very strange in this land that you're in.
Does that need to be taken into consideration?
Does that need to be taken into consideration? Pro Nick will say no, but I
think it does. And I say this, I think, obviously I'm not a parent.
I have a follow-up question for you guys. Go on.
I'm not a parent, so don't quote me. But I think if I can do whatever I can to make my child's life easy, I will do that. Obviously, within reason. There's still some things that are going to be my beliefs that I will stick to. And if I have to, as the parent, do the coaching and do the motivating and whatnot, I'm more than happy to do that. But we do have to understand that language is language. Even
language is a barrier.
Language is a barrier, and we are all built to speak our languages because we've got that in us. The way our tongues move and stuff like that, it's not the same way that somebody that's not from that region, even accents, even something as simple as accents. You drive 10 minutes down the road and people are speaking completely in a completely different tone because that's what they've known. So I think if you do move to a different country that's not you do have to be considerate of that the people there, as much as, and sometimes it's not because people are being, I know sometimes we really go on at, you know, white people for not being able to pronounce our names, and we say, oh, but it's so easy, you can say this, but that's because our tongues are molded to say those words. Their tongues are not molded to say those words. We're asking them to do something foreign with their bodies, something foreign with the language that comes out of their mouth. So I would be mindful, and I would say to my child, if I was to give them a difficult name, you have to appreciate your name is difficult and not everybody's going to get it right, and that's okay. And I think sometimes what we do wrong is we want everybody to say our name right when we've transposed our name to a different land, and that land doesn't speak the way that we speak.